This is Toon Talk Weekly, episode 203. This week, Brad and I try to conjure up our spirit animal when we watch an episode of the series Fangbone.
Whatever you are, I'm on to you. And then they vanished.
Did you smell the droppings, Bill?
Of course I didn't smell them. Why would I smell ghost droppings?
Oh, Bill, a great gift will soon be bestowed upon you. We must seek Twinklestick. And you must stop over-feasting our rodent of learning.
Huh?
The day just keeps getting better.
Where is that kid?
Hey everybody, it's Tuesday once again. That means it's time for another episode of the weekly cartoon podcast, Toon Talk Weekly. That's, of course, this show. If you found us that way, great. Thanks for joining us. Now you know what the show's about. Right from the top here. I'm Jake Williams. I'm not doing the show alone, though. I brought my good buddy, Brent Shibalewski. What's up, man? It's going well, dude. One of those days, like after the long weekend, it's fun to have the extra day. But then you almost like, by the time I get to that third day, that Monday, I'm not sure what to do with myself anymore.
Yeah, it's long weeks are nice, but then the work week, it's gonna hit us next week and be like, we don't have enough time for this crap.
Right. And as cool as they are to, like, you should honestly use those 3-day weekends, not the vacations you actually take, to like just kind of decompress at least one day, like just kind of rest, like read a book, drink some tea, coffee, beer, whatever, like just relax if you can. But dude, the work doesn't stop. Like you, especially a small business, like you like, no, now we just compressed our shit into 4 days and now we got to do it all. So that's what was up with us this past holiday weekend. But this is, of course, the show where every single week, Brad and I, who are animators by day, illustrators by day, watch a cartoon. We talk about it, a little bit of the background, and then we dive into one episode of the show as well. This week is no different, of course. We're going to do an episode of the series Fangbone. And I think, Brad, you found this show 2 weeks ago. Do you remember how this came about?
I was just on Netflix on the app on the TV, and we're just going through I think we were looking for Master of None because season 2 came out, and it wasn't in the recent stuff because there's too much stuff on Netflix. There's too many shows, and I was like, oh wait, what's this cartoon? And that was on the new stuff. So I was like, oh, all right, gonna have to remember that. Where's Master of None?
I also bet the app versions and the desktop version give you different recommendations.
I think so, probably, yeah.
Because, dude, when you're in those, I've been using we have a Roku and we have an Apple TV, and I've been using those a lot more. I barely watch, we record a couple shows on DVR, but I barely watch actual TV if it's not sports. So I go to my apps on these devices, and I swear to God, you feel hopeless using those things. The interfaces are so clunky sometimes that you just feel like, I don't know, man, I'm going to click the first thing I get to when I get to Netflix.
I know, yeah. Actually, the whole Netflix interface is the worst thing ever, and that will be their demise here. If somebody can have the content and make a better interface, because you can't find anything. Also, does anyone watch movies on Netflix anymore? The whole point of it?
Yeah, do you think
that's a whole nother rant? But anyway,
it's probably a product of. No, I think the UI is interesting, right? I remember when they changed it to what this is, it was fine, but maybe at this point there's so much content, and the way that they push it, like you just said, they're pushing TV series, so that's getting all mixed and mashed up into your movies. I honestly forget to check for new movies I may or may not want to watch all the time because I don't know. So. It's so funny. It's become the binge watching cartoons or like TV shows, but now it's like 6 months ago TV shows, not like, oh, all we have is The Office and season 3 of South Park. Like,
Yeah,
it's not just old stuff anymore.
it's endless. Yeah, yeah.
So the series Fangbone, you guys can, if you have a Netflix subscription, at least here in the U.S., it's there. I do know that different regions, but we seem to have some listeners from all over the place. So I know some stuff is different in the content, but in the U.S. edition of Netflix, you can find Fangbone online. I didn't really find it anywhere else streaming. I didn't really look that hard either. So sorry, guys. I'll just be honest. I didn't even try for
Well,
you.
it's pretty new too, so it may not have made it to some of those other sites yet.
Pretty new. It's actually 3 years old.
What?
And I didn't know
Oh
that.
my gosh, I thought it was like brand new. Never mind then.
I thought it was too. The information I found was that it's a Canadian animated series. It's produced by Radical Sheep Productions and Pipeline Studios, a couple of names we've heard before, as well as association with DHX Media. So those are all three common things. Especially we cover a lot of Canadian cartoons on here. They seem to all be intertwined with that market.
Yeah.
The pilot aired in 2014 on Disney XD. So that was around.
Okay.
The funny thing, actually, I didn't go through the series on Netflix, but the first episode that we watched today, which I told you, I said, hey, let's watch the pilot or the beginning episode. The pilot's actually not on Netflix, or if it is, it's not in order. So we watched effectively episode 2 of the series, which
okay.
I'll get into my thoughts on that in a second once we get to the episode. And the show is actually based on a series of books by Michael Rex. And I'm going to do some bad radio stuff here and actually look those up because I'm really curious to see, like, wait, were there these books I totally didn't even know? Yeah, they look like they're targeted towards, oh, he's third grade barbarian. So it's kind of like, it's like a radical version of like Ramona Quimby or something like that, right?
Okay.
That's pretty fun. The old Beverly Clary books, stuff like that. Cool, man. Now I sort of weirdly want to track down the books because it looks like they have sweet pictures in them. Oh man, yeah, they're almost like graphic novels.
Well, the artwork was pretty nice here.
Yeah, it's definitely got that modern style that we talk about quite a bit. It reminded me pretty close to something like I wanted to say Clarence, but Clarence I guess is a little more muddy than a lot of the other shows.
Yeah, I guess now that you said it was on Disney XD, it makes a lot of sense because it has that super crisp line work that Disney does.
Yeah, their stuff like seems to make elements of the characters pop with how dark the outlines are of their characters. Mm-hmm. Not to mention, again, I'm kind of obsessed with lip sync. Now, I watch their lip sync quite a bit in this show, and there are moments when it's great. There are a couple moments where it's a little iffy.
Yeah, I was watching that too. I liked how their mouths moved across their face a lot. Like,
yeah, and I think
that
with the
this might be the way they were turned. Like a lot of
yeah,
the art and illustration we do, characters face forward, which isn't always the most interesting way to do cartoons. Like usually everyone is kind of slightly turned. Mm-hmm. So.
Kind of like a sort of turn towards the camera or like have a little bit of an action kind of pose there. Yeah, and I think part of it probably also had to do with their kids, and so they kind of accentuate the things that they say, and not to mention one of them is basically a caveman. So it makes sense that his mouth would kind of like his jaw would like move or slide a little bit more, a little looser, right? So the story of Fangbone is actually told in the theme song and not in the episode we watched today because that's what was confusing me about where this show is going. But here's the easiest way I found it summed up, which is that Fangbone is a 9-year-old barbarian warrior who is from Skullbania, who's landed in, it's a state, it's actually over by Iowa, it's really cool, who's landed in Eastwood Elementary's 3rd grade class to save his native land from the evil, vile villain, Venomous Drool.
Okay.
Which is kind of an awesome name. And then also with the help of his new sidekick, Bill, who's a goofy kid in his class, Fangbone outwits his enemies while discovering the modern world and the realities of his own world, the world that he's actually from. Here's my complaint right up front. The episode we watched and we'll talk about today feels like it mainly focuses on Bill, and the show isn't called Bill.
It's
The show's called Fangbone.
Yeah, I guess I was like, I didn't think about that until you're kind of pointing that out now, where it's kind of like, oh yeah, I felt like Bill was the main character, but I guess not.
And I'm sure it alternates, and I'm sure there's more stuff. The second episode, the one following that, Fangbone meets some people at like a Renaissance fair who are in disguise, but they're actually from Skullbania as well. They're like a different clan, and so it does end up being a little bit more about him. But yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting because even though the show is titled Fangbone, my first impression of it, based on the order of episodes on Netflix, was that Bill just had this weird guy friend from another dimension named Fangbone, and maybe he'll show up.
Okay.
Like it didn't seem like as important. So
Yeah.
So we have the main characters of the series who are recurring all the time are Fangbone, of course, the young barbarian from Skullbania. I'm going to say Skullbania as many times as I can today. Bill Goodwin, who is in the theme song, they describe his weirdness as like his ultimate weapon. Like he's just weird, and so enemies don't know what to do. He's like awkward, and they don't know what to do to him. And then Venomous Drool, unfortunately, wasn't featured in this first episode. I do believe it was mentioned that what's his name? Fangbone. What's his name? It's the show, dude. Fangbone actually carries around and protects the evil toe of Venomous Drool. He has like a little pouch, and he has like a glowing toe of the sorcerer.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure for what purpose yet. It's kind of interesting. Maybe he tickles it once in a while, and it stops the sorcerer from attacking. I don't know. I'm just speculating here.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, very cool art style. I think up front is definitely what drew us to this. So we're glad Brett found this one. We talked about season 1, episode 1, according to Netflix, guys. There is a pilot, and it might actually technically be season 2 if you're going the canonical version of Fangbone. But the episode's titled "The Squeak of Might," and a lot of these are presented in typical cartoon style of a sort of A and B side of each episode. So there's a second one at the tail of this too.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess let's just jump right in with The Squeak of Might. It's basically, first of all, the theme song is worth a listen if you want a quick rundown of what is going on with Fangbone and what you can expect.
But you also might need to watch it like twice, because I watched it and I was like, I didn't follow that at all. Okay, on to the show.
Yeah, I felt like I was supposed to be, but it's this like really radical rock song happening, and you kind of get lost in the song and all of the action and the quick cuts and stuff that I was like, wait a second, I'm not sure what exactly I just watched. The first few scenes of the episode are Bill like hanging out and feeling like something is watching him over his shoulder. At one moment we see even like tiny little ears of what looks like some sort of rodent that might be watching him, but by the time he turns around, nobody can see him. He thinks it's something weird creeping up on him. I guess if you're in a world where this kid came from Skullbania to be your friend, anything's possible, so you got to look out.
Yeah, you're just at this point kind of used to the strange and awkward. But
yeah. There's one of these other great scenes is they come out of an ice cream shop, and Fangbone is really excited about the way he says things is really interesting. His character, like he says, this frozen milk from a cow or frozen milk of cow to be ice cream, right? He drops it on the ground, and yet Bill, being the awkward nerdy kid, is like, oh no, I got a loyalty card. It's fine. I'll just get you a free one. No, man, you just go get it. You be nice. You don't waste your loyalty points. But I think by the time he like reached down to see it or like looked where it was, something had stolen something. Mm-hmm. There's all these just small scenes where we're not quite sure what is happening with Bill, who's actually looking after Bill, basically. And then they go and discuss, I think Fangbone, I think, has an intuition here that maybe it has to do with your spirit animal. Like everybody has a spirit animal in Skullbania. All brave warriors get a spirit animal. And they go and talk to this, I wish I would have looked up this character. There's like this old sorcerer guy who wears like a horse head in a mirror. It's super strange.
Okay. Oh yeah, I guess that's right. I do remember him talking, and I was like, I feel like I was supposed to know just a lot of this show.
Yeah, I feel like you're just thrown right in. And not a lot was up at the top, but maybe the pilot would have been better to watch. So they start describing like everybody needs a spirit animal. Yours is trying to contact you, so we need to do the ritual. They'll figure out the way to like conjure it to be your new spirit animal, Bill. And they go over some of the cool ones that have been out there before. There's like a giant crab, but the crab's like claws have axes. There's a giant hammerhead shark eagle. So just picture a hammerhead shark, but with like eagle wings and talons, like some real wacky, but also like really radical looking animals, you know.
When a member of the mighty lizard clan comes of age, he is met by his spirit beast.
A spirit beast represents the heart, skill, and smell of a barbarian warrior. And you too, I guess. Way to go.
There have been many mighty pairings. Clapperclaw and his axe Pincher Crab. Grimeblade and his hammerhead eagle shark. Axe Bear and his Fireboar.
I'm getting a spirit beast companion? That's amazing! Which one do I get? I want the most kick-butt beast ever!
It shall kick 1,000 of butts, Bill.
They're basically setting up a great joke, which is, look at all these great warriors and the amazing beasts that represent them in the spirit world.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think Bill is going to end up with here after they perform this small ritual?
Yeah, you're like maybe rooting for something awesome for him, but yeah, kind of a feeling it's not going to happen.
Yeah. They do get a little scroll that they do a ritual, it looks like, on top of the school, where they set up a bunch of they draw things that look like little pentagrams and like weird symbols and stuff on the ground. Mm-hmm. But they also like put basketballs in like the entire gymnasium equipment closet like around. They also spread peanut butter and jelly on his face to give him his animal markings or something. So he conjures up what his spirit animal will be, lightning strike, very exciting scene, only to find out, to look down and see that it's this tiny little, basically squirrel, right, that's been following him around.
Basically, yeah.
I don't know what it's. Maybe it's more of a ferret.
Yeah, I guess it's a ferret. It's more of a ferret because it's really long. It has a really long neck, like a giraffe or a dinosaur kind of neck kind of thing.
Yeah. And so, of course, he's super disappointed because now he doesn't get to be this hero he thought he would be. There's some great little scenes here with Bill coping with his new pet. Basically, like the pet, accidentally, him trying to capture the pet, but the pet like knocks down a shelf and all the stuff on his head. Like, just funny stuff. It actually reminded me of my own situation with getting a new puppy. It's kind of what it can feel like sometimes.
But he wanted nothing to do with this spirit animal. Like it wasn't as awesome as he like wanted it to be.
Yeah. If I remember right, he even at some point was basically like, it wasn't so much like, I don't accept this. It's just like, I just want another one. Like, I want to redo. It's like totally trying to nullify any sort of traditions that are around. At one point, even in class, his animal really wants his attention, but Bill wants nothing to do with it. And he's getting in trouble with the teacher because he's like, he can't keep this animal in check, basically. Mm-hmm. So what does Bill decide to do? Bill says, you know what, dude? I don't want a ferret as my spirit animal. I can't go around telling people that. So he goes back on the roof without Fangbone this time, and he tries to conjure his new one. He basically goes through the scroll and picks the one he wants, which is this giant, cool-looking dragon thing. It also it spits tar. That's what it does. That's its like special power. It's kind of funny. But then Fangbone has to explain, look, dude, you don't just pick. The spirit beast picks you, and then you summon them to you. But you basically summon somebody else's beast to us. And we get this great cutaway of whoever's pet this is, whatever villain guy this is. I don't know if this is the venomous drool guy.
I was wondering if that's who that might be, but we don't.
It seems like it should be, but I'm not sure. But they cut to him at this giant doggy bowl thing, trying to call his pet, like, here, little guy. And nope, your dragon was called somewhere else, just suddenly. Don't you think this could happen way more times than just this once?
I guess it had to have happened before. Or maybe it hasn't because everyone knows the rules. Like, that's
True.
What they do.
Hear me, spirit beast!
Bill, this is not the room of bathing. What are you doing?
It's okay. I'm just trading in my spirit beast for a cooler one. Be my companion forever!
Bill?
See? That's my new tar-spitting dragon! Awesome, right?
Spirit beasts cannot be traded like trading beasts, Bill. You summoned the spirit beast of someone else.
La Mr. Bitey Face. Mr. Bitey Face?
And so now we set up the remaining 3 to 4 minutes of the episode are we need to get rid of this giant tar spitting dragon, and potentially you will use your spirit animal to do so. At some point, the dragon forms up in this huge tree a like tar nest, and these are all other kids from school too that go up there and they try to save the day. There's one kid who's like, I can totally get out of this, and he like springs out of his clothes because he wants to be naked, and then he just immediately gets stuck again. That kid's great.
That was pretty good, yeah.
I want to show with that kid.
You want that kid to have a show? That's like,
Yeah.
He's like the boy. I feel like there's a show with the Boy Scouts that we've watched.
Oh, maybe.
That looks like this kid. He's like from another cartoon we've seen.
He kind of does look like that. Also in this scene, I love the way that Fangbone and Bill scale this tree. Fangbone sticks his sword in the tree, and then simultaneously, while standing on his sword, they like jump and restab. It seemed like a video game kind of thing you would try to do.
I feel like I just saw this happen. I was at the gym and American Ninja Warrior was on, and there is a part of it where you have this rod, but you have to hook it to the next one each time to like climb it. So you have to like jump kind of from in the air. So it was like that kind of move.
Yeah, I think they call that the salmon ladder.
Okay.
And the funny part is, it's kind of like the easiest way I always describe it to people is imagine a ladder, but there's only one rung and you move the rung. You know what I mean? You're the one going up into the notches or whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of, yeah, this is kind of what happened. And then, so they have to take care of this dragon. They're trying to figure out what to do. But of course, it ends up being his spirit beast, basically, that has some sort of way of like, what exactly was it? I see that the dragon like falls down and gets like tar spit back onto him.
I didn't really understand what happened there. All of a sudden, just like, yeah, he was down.
Yeah, there's a great battle scene. Oh, it looks like it's distracted. So Bill is on top of the dragon, and he's basically spitting tar onto himself, which now the dragon can't fly because he's got tar all over his wings and stuff. But basically what his spirit animal does is just save Bill from falling off this huge tree. Just reaches out his hand and saves him. And that's essentially it. So Bill has now accepted his new pet. We do get a final scene with the villain. Has his dragon back now. He went back to him. He's got to clean all this tar off of him. So pretty funny stuff. But again, this was my original thought. The show's called Fangbone, guys. This episode, all about Bill.
Yeah,
so a little
it
weird.
was about, I guess, moving the lore of the show forward.
Yeah, for sure. So, Brad, general thoughts. We talked a little bit about the art and animation. Once you finally got into an episode, into the world of this, what were your thoughts and feelings on the show?
Yeah, I liked it. I should have watched the second part, and I think I will put this on. Like right now, I'm kind of working through the rest of season 3 that's on Hulu now of Steven Universe, so that's captured my time. But I feel like I may go to this show because one, I never watched or got into the was the girl Disney one we watched a while ago.
Oh, Star versus the Forces of Evil?
Yeah, I never got into that. And this one, for some reason, I like the look of the characters. They're like very simple. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, something about it. So I think I'm gonna watch more of this.
Yeah, and it feels like the only 2 episodes I've seen now, what I like about it is it feels like there is an overarching storyline, but what I've gotten so far is 2 fun episodes. Mm-hmm. So I want to see them touch more on that. I like the bigger stuff, I think, in my shows. The only like minor gripe I had early on in the episode, and it got better as it went on, because you kind of get into the flow of the show. Holy crap, that setup with like the animal being behind Bill was so fast. Well, the cuts just kept happening. And I was like trying to make the connection of what are you trying to tell me with each of these scenes? There's one where he's playing video game. There's one he's getting ice cream. There's one he's trying to go to bed. Like they're all very different, and I didn't know what it was. You kind of start to catch up with the show and how it moves as it goes, but the cuts just seem. I didn't know what that edit was. I was like, this is all over the place.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
But as I got into it more, I started to appreciate the style a little bit more. I think Fangbone can be a funny character because for some reason, I keep calling him a caveman. He's not really a caveman. He's just a barbarian guy. But I want to know more about like Skullbania. Is Skullbania a dimension? Is it a world?
Do they go there?
Yeah, there. In the second episode, they do describe why this group of people was at Skullbania, and they show like this animated diagram kind of thing where they come from underneath the earth and go like up through it. But I don't know if that was like a portal. I can't remember if it was a portal or like in this world, Skullbania is an actual place. I don't know. So kind of interesting. I think we're both a little bit interested to check out more of it and see kind of where the world goes deeper, because it's a cool premise. It's also, you know, we can be a little selfish here and say this is like the buddy bro show. This is like you and your friend and like two guys just hanging out. You know what I mean?
A little bit, yeah.
It's like all those girl shows. We need boy shows. I'm just kidding. There's 100,000 boy shows.
Way more boy shows than girl shows.
We don't need any more of those. So, cool. So check out Fangbone if you have a Netflix subscription. It's a cool show. It's got a really great look to it. And if you know more about Fangbone, of course, let us know. We'll hit you. Yeah.
Do you feel like you would watch this over Mighty Magic Swords? Because I feel like because of the swords and I guess just fighting and kind of goofiness, they're similar.
They are. This seems like a little bit more like hard rock action, whereas like Mighty Magic Swords is like fantasy comedy.
Okay, all right.
I think it has a different feel to it. So probably both. However, I do remember feeling the same way, actually, the comment I just made about how quick it moves about Mighty Magic Swords. This stuff just kind of flies by.
Okay.
Really, what I should be watching is Star vs. the Forces of Evil, though. Honestly, if we're picking one show that looks like this, that one looks amazing. I actually just retweeted I think there's a new season coming, and the creator mentioned that the first 4 episodes are going to play out like, I think they're airing all at once. It's technically 4 episodes, but it's a movie.
Or we go back to the root of these shows and just do Gravity Falls, because I have not watched all of those.
No, that like, dude, you know why we started this podcast? People probably know, I guess, if they listen to the first episode. I picked Gravity Falls because I went to Starbucks and they used to have those free cards, and I got a free episode on iTunes. And I was like, oh yeah, let's do this show. This is great. Never went back. And the show's done now, so of course we can do a complete like wrap up. So, cool. Well, let's get out of here for this episode. Brad, where can people find out more about you when you're not recording Toon Talk Weekly?
So I'm on Twitter at brad, and then my blog is digitalhitchhiker.com.
Great, guys, go check them out. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Jacob Williams. And of course, anything to do with Toon Talk Weekly. We have Twitter at Toon Talk Weekly, Facebook.com/Toon Talk Weekly. We're also as Toon Talk Weekly over on Google Plus as well. Again, if you know more about Fangbone, let us know. Maybe if the books even enlightened you to more about the show. If you've read the books, we'd love to know. Love to know more about it. ToonTalkWeekly@gmail.com is the email to send any of those. And of course, ToonTalkWeekly.com, the main hub for the show. You can find any and all episodes of the show from here until the very beginning. And that's just the way it's going to be. I was thinking about redoing the website. It's been a couple of years now. But every time you do that, it's always an undertaking.
Yeah,
it's always a challenge. So we'll see. So that's going to do it for this week's show. Brad, you mentioned a show that I feel like I've heard the name of, and I don't remember why, that we're going to do next week. What are we going to do next week?
So I was out with our friend Alice, who does a lot of script writing for us at Loose Keys. She mentioned the show called Shirt Tales, right? Is that what it's called? Yeah. I don't think I've heard of this. I've seen some of the characters, but she said she loved it. She had a sleeping bag of the show and all this.
Wait, it's really old. Okay. I feel like I've come across this on a list. It looks like it's a Hanna-Barbera cartoon. And I think I almost picked this one time. Interesting.
So we did a fairly newer show, especially super modern style. So let's go back a little bit. It's been a couple weeks, I think.
Yeah, all right. We'll dig into some older shows when we watch an episode of Shirt Tales next week. So that's going to do it for this week's episode of Toon Talk Weekly, guys. Thanks for joining us for episode 203, and we'll be back next week with another cartoon.
Take care.
To learn more about the show, visit ToonTalkWeekly.com or follow us on Twitter at ToonTalkWeekly.